Okay, let's journey back in time. Picture this. The world is absolutely brand new. Adam and Eve have just walked out of the Garden of Eden. Imagine the sun rising over a vast, silent earth. The air is so crisp and clean it almost hurts to breathe. The land is wild, untouched, and humanity's entire story, well, it's just about to begin. This is where we land, in Genesis, chapter 4. And it's an incredible story about the very first family, a powerful feeling called jealousy, and a single choice that would send ripples through all of human history. You know, at the very heart of this ancient story is an emotion that every single one of us has felt. I know I have. It's that hot, tight feeling you get in your chest when someone else has something you really, really wanted. It's jealousy. And this chapter asks a huge question. When that feeling shows up, what are you going to do about it?
So in this brand new world, Adam and Eve have their first child, a son. They name him Cain. And you can just hear the joy in Eve's voice when she says, "With the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man." And then a little while later, they have another son, Abel. I mean, think about it. These are the first children ever born, growing up in a world with no cities, no roads, no noise, just endless green earth and a sky bigger than you can imagine. Now, as these brothers grew up, they chose really different paths in life. You can see it right here. Cain, the older brother, he became a farmer. He loved digging his hands into the dirt, working the soil, making things grow. Abel, on the other hand, became a shepherd, spending his days out in the open pastures, watching over his flocks. So you have two very different jobs, two different lives, and this difference is going to become really important. So the time comes when the brothers decide to bring a gift, an offering to God. You can almost picture them walking to a special, sacred spot. The air is still, and there's this feeling of reverence. This isn't just some chore they have to do. It's a huge moment for them to connect with their Creator, to say thank you for everything. But as we're about to see, how they give their gift reveals everything about what's going on inside their hearts. Cain, the farmer, he steps up first. He brings an offering from his harvest. Now, listen to the words the text uses. It simply says he brought some of the fruit of the soil. It was an offering, and that's good, but the language kind of suggests it was, well, just a portion, maybe not his very best. It's like he was checking a box, doing the right thing, but you have to wonder, was his whole heart really in it? And then comes Abel. Wow, the contrast here is just powerful. He brings the best parts, the fat portions, from the firstborn of his flock. Think about that. Not just any old sheep. He brought the very first and the very best of what he had. This tells us it wasn't just about the gift, it was about the attitude behind the gift. It was an offering that screamed excellence and honor. So God accepts Abel's incredible, heartfelt gift, but he doesn't accept Cain's. And Cain's reaction? It's immediate and it is intense. The Bible says he became very angry and his face fell. You can just picture it, can't you? His jaw tightens, his eyes get narrow, and that hot, boiling feeling of jealousy and rejection starts to bubble up inside him. Now here's where it gets really interesting. In this moment, when Cain is furious, God doesn't just zap him with lightning. He doesn't punish him. He actually speaks to him directly. He offers him a warning, and more importantly, he offers him a way out. This is one of the most critical moments in the whole story. It's a conversation about choice, about responsibility, and about what to do with our most difficult feelings. God says to Cain, "If you do what is right, won't you be accepted? But if you don't, sin is crouching at your door." He paints this incredibly vivid picture for Cain. Sin is like a wild animal, a predator, hiding, waiting, ready to pounce. But then he says something absolutely amazing. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. Okay, let's break this down for a second. What is this crouching sin? It's not some literal monster hiding in the bushes. No, it's that feeling inside of us. It's the rage, the jealousy, the bitterness. And God's message here is so empowering. He's telling Cain, and he's telling us, you are not a slave to your feelings. You have the power to be the master of that anger. You can rule over it. The choice is yours. But Cain, he doesn't listen. He lets that crouching animal come right through the door. He lets the anger take complete control. The Bible says he talked with his brother Abel. Imagine Cain, his face probably still dark with rage, saying something like, "Hey, let's go take a walk out in the field." And Abel, who has no idea what's coming, who trusts his brother, he follows him out into the quiet, empty expanse, far away from anyone else.
And there, in the lonely silence of the field, Cain gives in completely to that rage. He attacks his brother, and the very first act of violence in human history takes place. One terrible choice, born from jealousy, leads to a tragedy that can never be undone. After this horrific act, God confronts Cain again, and he asks a question that he already knows the answer to. Where is your brother Abel? He's not asking for information. He's giving Cain one last chance to confess, to own up to what he's done, to take responsibility. Cain's response has become one of the most famous lines in the entire Bible. First he lies, saying, I don't know. And then he snaps back with this defiant, sarcastic question. Am I my brother's keeper? It's just so bitter. He's trying to shift the blame, to pretend he has zero responsibility for the one person closest to him in the whole world. But you can't hide from the consequences. God tells him that Abel's blood is crying out from the ground itself. The very earth that Cain the farmer worked with his hands is now cursed for him. He can't be a farmer anymore. His punishment is to become a restless wanderer, forever disconnected from his home, from the ground, from everything he's ever known.
And it's in this moment, the full weight of his choice finally comes crashing down on Cain. All that defiance just melts away into pure despair. He cries out, my punishment is more than I can bear. He's terrified. He realizes that being a wanderer means he's vulnerable, that anyone who finds him might kill him. And then, in an amazing moment of mercy, God places a mark on Cain, not as a brand of shame, but as a sign of protection, so that no one would take his life.
So Cain leaves. He goes and settles in the land of Nod, which literally means wandering. But believe it or not, the story doesn't end there. Even from this heartbreaking, tragic beginning, humanity starts to build, to create, to move forward. And here's something you might not know, something really fascinating. Cain's own descendants become the pioneers of civilization. Cain himself builds the very first city and names it after his son, Enoch. And later, his descendants invent all these new ways of living. Jabal figures out how to live as a nomad with livestock. Jubal creates music. He's the father of everyone who plays the harp and flute. And Tubal-Cain becomes the first blacksmith, forging tools from bronze and iron. So you see, society is growing, innovating, creating incredible things. But there's a dark side. Alongside all this amazing innovation, the violence that started with Cain's choice is also growing. It's escalating. One of Cain's descendants, a man named Lamech, starts boasting to his wives. He makes up this chilling little song where he brags that he killed a man just for injuring him. Then he says, if Cain was to be avenged 7 times, he would demand to be avenged 77 times. The pride and the violence are just spiraling out of control. So it really seems like the world is getting darker and darker, right? The path that began with Cain's choice is leading to more pride, more revenge, more violence. But the chapter doesn't end on that dark note. The story shifts back to Adam and Eve, and it offers us this incredible glimmer of hope. Adam and Eve have another son, and Eve names him Seth, which means appointed. She sees this new child as a precious gift from God, a replacement for her righteous son Abel who was lost. This isn't just another birth. It's the start of a brand new line, a totally different path for humanity to follow. And the chapter ends on this profoundly beautiful, hopeful note. When Seth has his own son Enosh, something new starts happening in the world. For the first time, it says, people began to call on the name of the Lord. After all the anger, the separation, the violence that came from Cain's choice, people are now actively reaching out, seeking a connection with God again. A path back has opened up. So what does this all mean for us? Well, Cain's story is really about that tiny space between a feeling and a choice. God told him that sin was crouching at the door, but that he could be its master. And that is our challenge for this week. It's a midot challenge we call Practice the Pause. It's simple. 1, when you feel that rush of anger or jealousy, just stop. Don't say anything, don't do anything. 2, breathe. Take 1 slow, deep breath. That little breath creates space. And 3, ask. In that space you just created, ask yourself one simple question. What is the best version of me going to do next? In the end, this chapter shows us 2 legacies being built. One was built on anger, and it led to wandering and more violence. The other was built on hope, and it led people back to connection with God and each other. Every single day, with all our little choices, we are building our own legacy. The question is, what kind of world will your choices help build? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Part A's. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.